Hi, I'm Anna Martin, and welcome to the Flex Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about resistance training, what it is, why all women should be doing something along those lines, and how you can include it in your daily life. And I'm going to endeavour to make this last less than half an hour because every time I do this, I feel like I'm just going on and on. So I'm going to cut to the chase, try and get all this magic in there. So, what is resistance training? That's basically any movement against the load. So when you do a class like dance fitness, that's a cardiovascular workout predominantly. We might do a little bit of squatting or something like that, but it isn't working against the load. You're having a cardio workout, having a lot of fun, hopefully, and getting all the benefits from that in terms of your heart and lung function, in terms of the endorphins, in terms of moving better. And for some people, there will be, with the few squats and stuff that there are in there, that will be the start of getting into some kind of resistance training. But resistance training typically looks a lot more like things like lunges and squats, press ups, ab crunches, things where you're moving against a load, which at a body weight level is your body weight. So it's your body against gravity. But at a later date, that might look like things like bands, weights, and in the gym, using things like the machines, barbells, stuff like that. So, why would we bother to start with? Are you thinking that sounds way less fun than dancing or going for a run or something? And potentially it might feel like that to a lot of people when they get started. But resistance training has some really absolutely huge benefits. So, resistance training is the thing that's going to stimulate your muscle mass to do some stuff. So, essentially, to get a bit bigger and stronger. And you might think, oh, yeah, but I don't want to be bulging out all over the place. That's not going to happen unless I suddenly start to decide that I want to start selling a lot of gear to all my clients, which is not going to happen. But resistance training is going to help you build that muscle mass so you feel stronger, you can move better, and also so that you appear more toned, so that you have a little bit more muscle there for people to see and check out when you're flexing the gun show and all that jazz. Muscle mass then, therefore, obviously has quite a large impact on your body composition. So, in terms of how much muscle you have versus body fat. So, for some people, that can be a goal that they're working at the moment in terms of maybe they want to look more toned, maybe they want to lose a little bit of weight. So, they want to lose some body fat and increase the amount of muscle that they have. And also, it has huge impacts on age. So as we get older, we're losing muscle mass from 35 and up unless we do something about it. So that's why for a lot of people, they might say, oh, but when I was younger, I didn't used to have this problem or I felt stronger. But because our hormones and so on change as we get older, we're less able to hold on to some of the muscle mass that we already have. So that starts to decline with age unless we are doing some resistance training and eating a decent amount of protein in our diet. And as ever, whenever I say anything about protein, I always just do a caveat that any kidney issues you have to talk to your consultant about. But for everyone else, it's generally pretty wonderful to eat a slightly higher protein diet in order for you to keep that muscle mass and keep it feeling good. Also, having a little bit more muscle on you and being able to maintain your muscle mass as you age is going to have an impact on avoiding things like osteoporosis. That obviously, for a lot of women, can be something that maybe features later on in life after the menopause and so on. And we want to try to avoid that. So we can do that by doing some resistance training. All coming back to the same thing, as you can note here. Also, having more muscle mass can mean that you're better at regulating your body's blood sugar, which for most people doesn't make too much difference to them. But for anyone who's pre-diabetic or has type 2 diabetes, can be something that they really want to take a long look at and see if they can do something to improve themselves. So having that muscle mass there can be very helpful in that situation. So what does it look like as like at a beginner level? So maybe you're doing dance fitness or you've just started jogging or something and actually think, I know I need to do some of this stuff, but I really don't want to go in a gym at the moment. And that's absolutely fine. So you can do home workouts, starting with your body weight, maybe adding in some bands, things like hip circles or tube bands later on down the line. It might look like Pilates, it might look Just like things that you could fit generally into more of a day-to-day kind of situation. So 20 minutes at home doing a chilled body weight workout just to get you started and to start getting into your knowledge of all the exercises and that kind of stuff. Now, just obviously, I'm here to do a bit of selling. I do have a body weight program that progresses you through the equipment on my website. So if you are interested in that, it's called Flex on the Go. And that progresses you over 12 months so that you know exactly what you're doing, gives you a really good rounded workout so that you're able to, one, feel in control of everything you're doing, and two, learn the movements, three, feel a lot stronger in yourself as well and more mobile, should be better at getting up and down off the floor, out of chairs, all that kind of stuff. Maybe we're a little bit more experienced and we've done some things like home workouts and LBT, and we want to take that to a higher level. You might be ready to go in the gym, you might have bought some equipment for home, and obviously that would be a progression as you're moving through your fitness journey over time. So if you're interested in that, check out my fully charged, Flex Fully Charged on my website. So, what do we need to start thinking about? One, how often can we fit in these types of workouts? So for most people, and my average client, I guess 2 to 3 times a week is probably what would fit in feasibly, and also what would probably be optimal in terms of their like kind of work-life balance and all that stuff. So 2 to 3 times a week, but how long is that for? It is as long as you have time for. So if you've only got 20 minutes, doing 3 times a week, 20 minutes is better than doing 0 minutes of anything. No, you will not build as much muscle as if you're in the gym 5 days a week for an hour or whatever, but it is still going to move you along. And as we've talked about with all the other nutrition stuff, we don't need to be perfect. We just need to do something to help us sustain the way that we are already and get a bit stronger and move a bit better. So any workout, any resistance workout that you can do is absolutely better than nothing. So even if you can only fit in once a week to begin with, that is absolutely fine. That's where we'll start. As you start to enjoy it a bit more, it might be something that you're a bit more willing to find time for. Maybe your circumstances will change in terms of how much you're working, that kind of stuff, and you'll be able to fit more in as time goes on. But if we don't start, we can't have anything to, we don't have anything to build on and we can't move forward. So we must start with something, even if it's, we're thinking, oh God, maybe it's not as much as I should be doing. Anything is better than nothing, 100%. So when we're doing all these workouts, it can get a bit confusing with the kind of stuff that we need to do. So if you do need some guidance of it, do reach out, because obviously I have all these programs. But in terms of the most bang for your buck, it will be exercises that you use more than one joint at a time. So things for your lower body like squats, lunges, deadlifts, things like Romanian deadlifts, that kind of stuff. Upper body, it'll be things like shoulder presses, bench presses or press ups, rows and pull downs. So the bigger movements that give you more bang for your buck, especially if you haven't got tons of time to spend on this. There's not much point for most people doing like 400 bicep curls when actually they could be doing things that use more of their body in one go. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be doing lunges combined with bicep curls, or lunges and lateral raises, or trying to combine movements in one thing. For most people, it's just better to get those basics absolutely nailed and to progress those basics, so to make them harder over time. Now, what that means in like a real life situation for people who are working out is that obviously when you do a lunge for the first time, you might not be able to bend your knees very much, or a squat, you might not be able to get down very low because it feels very difficult. Over time, as you practice it, that particular depth of movement is going to start to feel easier and easier as you get stronger and as you get more kind of in tune with the movement and used to how your body's moving. So obviously just going to that depth, like 4 weeks after you started, 8 weeks after you started, isn't going to feel as difficult as it did when you first started. So you make it harder simply by going a bit lower or a bit deeper in that movement. Perhaps if you're doing something like a press up, for example, you've been doing it on your knees, and then 6 months later, you're moving up to doing it full body. And in the time in between, maybe you've been doing it on an incline so that your hands are higher than your legs, gradually moving it down towards the floor. That is making something more challenging, and that isn't even by adding in any equipment at all. That's this making it more difficult as you go on is called progressive overload, and that's a fitnessy term that we use to talk about the fact that we need to constantly, not constantly, but consistently make things more difficult across a length of time. So that doesn't mean that on Monday you're going to be doing knee down press ups and on Friday you're going to be doing full body press ups. It takes a long time to get stronger and to build more muscle, but over time, we want to keep the exercise feeling difficult or just challenging enough. And that is the term called progressive overload. So when you're first starting out, that would be something like making the depth of your squat lower or moving your knees back a bit in the press up. So these are things that are making it more difficult. It can also be something like the first time you do a squat, you can only do 5, but the time 2 weeks later, you can do 6. And then 4 weeks after that, again, you can do 10. So we can add in a rep here and there to make the set more challenging. So once we're in the gym, maybe, or we've started to buy weights or bands at home, one of the ways that we can keep making the exercise harder is to add more load. So to make it heavier. Now, this over time obviously takes a long time to get there. So it isn't something that we're just thinking, our bicep curl 5 kilos this week, 7.5 kilos next week, it's 15 4 weeks after that. It's not how it works. It is slow. And in between, we're doing those things like maybe adding in an extra rep here and there. We're maybe getting better at controlling the movement. So then the movement does feel harder because we're doing it better. So, for example, we're keeping our body still if we are doing something like a bicep curl. Whereas at the beginning, maybe we're swinging it to swing the weight up. So as our technique gets better, it can be that for some exercises, it feels harder anyway, which is great because our technique's getting better. We're getting more bang for our buck when we're doing it. We're using the muscles that we think we are, and we're able to control everything, and it feels a lot more comfortable to us. So over this period of time, we're slowly progressing the effort, well, the difficulty of the exercise that we're doing, so that our effort levels are still high as we go on. We can't just do the same squat forever and expect to get the same results. We must challenge ourselves. And obviously, over our fitness journey, what challenges us is very different. And sometimes we have to go backwards to go forwards. Like for sometimes people might have an injury, they might get drunk and fall over at the weekend, then they have to kind of go back a little bit, go lighter, and then gradually build things up again. And that's just life because we're not unfortunately going to be able to avoid ever getting injured, but the likelihood of you getting injured when you're stronger is a lot lower, and your recovery can be a lot better if you've got plenty of muscle around you to support those joints. So obviously there's many reasons why we might want to start resistance training, and it is absolutely something that you do probably need to ask for a bit of advice on and for a bit of help with. So I can't kind of recommend enough reaching out to a fit pro. It is worth having something to follow, especially to begin with. Even if you're looking up YouTube workouts and stuff to start with, do something so that you can help to improve your technique and feel more confident, and especially looking for someone who fits with where you're at. So if you need some support moving better, then obviously don't try to follow someone who's squatting 495 kilos in the gym and that's the workout that they're telling you to do. Do it a little bit at a time and build up your own power with it. Now, once we're starting to get a little bit more confident, we know some different movements, we're starting to perhaps lift some weights and stuff over time, we're maybe going into the gym. Again, that opens up a whole new world of exercises that we can do, some of which will be very familiar to us from working out at home, but some that will look a bit different and perhaps challenge us in different ways. And that is why I love resistance training so much. There is no point in anyone's life, and not in mine, I've been lifting for probably about 12 years, 5 times a week. There's no point where it doesn't challenge me because it's always going to be a tiny bit too difficult for me. That's the joy of working out. it never gets to a point where you're like, this is so easy, I just don't even need to do it anymore. There's always going to be some way to go with it and some way of challenging yourself. And actually, that's a really nice thing to have in life because we quite often, when we're adults, we're very much in our own comfort zone and we're good at our jobs, right? Because we've had practice at it. We've probably got quite a nice stable group of friends. Everything's kind of sorted with homes and things like that. I know there are things that change from time to time, but in general, because we've been around a bit longer, we're quite practiced at the things that we're doing. And actually, then when you get into a fitness environment, having never done it before, it can feel quite overwhelming, which I totally get. But the bonus of that is constantly pushing us outside of our comfort zone a little bit, opening up doors for us, not only in terms of the way we move, being able to get out of the chair when we're older, which inevitably is everyone's goal, right? But also trying to just think, do you know what? It's okay if something challenging challenges me in my life, and it's actually quite nice not to be good at something and to be starting from scratch. There is always something to learn. Like I love training people, doing PT and my online stuff because I'm always learning from my clients as well. Like they find this tricky, they have this injury. Now I can look at things at a different perspective for them. Could I think of new exercises for them, new ways of doing it, new ways of supporting them through that movement so that they are able to do it at some point as we build up to it? We're constantly learning and constantly evolving in fitness, and that is what makes it so magical. So please, if you've never done it before, don't think I've never done it, it's too late for me. It is never too late. Excuse me. It is never ever too late at any age to get started with trying to get some muscle mass on that body to feel stronger and to move better. I know that when probably for a lot of our lives, we spend a lot of it thinking, if only I was in better shape, I'd wear this. I'm going on holiday, so I want to lose this bit of weight before I go. There are a lot of things that, absolutely fine to have those goals. Nothing wrong with those goals. We all have them. But really, they're very minor in comparison to our overall goal. And I don't know about you, but I want to be 80 years old like a ninja doing all my resistance training. I want to feel good. I want to be able to move around, get out my chair. I want, if my friends ask me to go out for a long walk, I want to be able to go. There's a couple of chaps that I chat to at the gym who are well into their 80s, lifting, still running, still doing all this stuff. And I just think it's phenomenal. That is how I want my life to be, that I'm still able at 86. One of them comes down the gym, trains, is doing pull-ups, is doing his squats, is on the bench press. He is still working hard to better himself at every point in his life. And it's very inspirational to see that. Um, Obviously, I have it as well with my mum. Like some of you know her from classes and stuff, and just because she's always on my social media and things. But she's 72 at the time I'm recording this. She trains at least twice a week at the gym. She's still running. She comes to all my classes. She is lifting pretty heavy. We were deadlifting in the gym together the other day. She was up to over 70 kilos. She's strong. And it's inspiring not just for me, but I think also for a lot of the people that I train and that are on Flex, because mum's on that as well, which is predominantly what she does in the gym. It's nice for people to see someone who's maybe a bit older than them, like to be quite honest, smashing shit up, because it does make you let you know that that is available to you. And mum didn't start lifting until she was over 50, and probably, I guess, has taken it more seriously in the last sort of 15 years since I've been working in fitness, because obviously she has to come, or she doesn't have to, but she does come to all my classes, all my workouts, does all my online stuff because she's so supportive. So she's obviously put a lot of work in the last 15 years, and you can see it because she's packing some muscular heat in those shoulders, and her hamstrings are huge. So these are all things that can help other people feel like, actually, I'm 52. I have never lifted a weight before. Maybe I could. Yes, you absolutely could. And you can as well if you're 62, and you can if you're 72. And if you're under 35 thinking, oh, I've got a bit of time before I need to start worrying about this. Yeah, potentially you do. But also, get it in now, get that routine in. That way, it's not going to feel like such an ag when you do need to come and do it. Also, in the meantime, you're building muscle, more muscle now when you're feeling dead sprightly and you're able to do all this stuff. You're building it all now, so then you have more when you get to a point where maybe our bodies are starting to change a little bit. I just don't want to be that old person that can't do things for reasons that I might have been able to change myself. For some people, things happen to them they cannot control, and that's a bit shit. But that, it's life. It happens to people. It could happen to anyone. But for other people, if you have the opportunity to be able to change something and to live better and to move better, like why wouldn't you do it? Like, I know I've harped on about this in another podcast as well, and I'm sure now I'm just jabbering on and getting up towards that half an hour. I need to be quiet. Oh no, I'm still under. Obviously I've got scoliosis, and when I was younger, in my 20s, I used to have the worst muscle spasms to the point where I was medicated a lot of the time. I couldn't do a lot of things. I remember going to go out for the night with my boyfriend and my friends and stuff, and having a muscle spasm so bad that I couldn't stand up straight. And all I could think was, God, if this is what I've got now, what is it going to be like when I'm old? Like, how am I going to be able to move when I get to that point? I would have done absolutely anything to not be like that. Absolutely anything. And over time, with the training that I've been doing and the support I've had from Luke with my physio and rehab and stuff like that, I've been able to make a lot of changes that better support my back and help me to move better. So even though it's never going to be comfortable because I have a permanent spinal deformity, it's just, can I move better? Can I feel better? Can I avoid feeling like that again, how I did before? And I mean, touch all of the wood in all of the places, but it's so far so good. And if I can make that last longer, why wouldn't I? It's easy to pretend something doesn't matter until it really, really frigging matters. And then you think, God, I wish I'd done something about this before. So if I rarely, rarely, rarely tell anyone what to do, because I think unless you've specifically asked me a question for a recommendation, I don't want to tell you. I'll give you some information. You can decide what you're doing yourself. But there is one thing that I could really press upon all women to do, is that do at least one resistance training a week. Just anything that you can do that you can fit in, at least one. Just take that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to look after yourself. I beg of thee, if I can, if I'm allowed to, without being too bossy. I shall wrap things up before I harp on about it anymore, but this is something that's really important to me, and hopefully, because you're listening to this, it's important to you too. So, yeah, if we can make some changes and we can start to get you moving and feeling great, that would be fantastic. If you need help with it, reach out to me. I've got Flex on the go, Flex Fully Charge available, and it's pretty low cost, to be honest. I wanted to make it so that basically most people could afford to do it if they wanted to. Also, it means that you get that independence because you've got something to follow, but you have to make yourself do it. And then obviously we have the Big Four starting in a couple of weeks in March 2025. So if you're listening to this after, it's probably not about the right time. But if you do want some group coaching to go alongside all of the workouts, that will be available on that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to finish drinking my chocolatey coffee. So have a great day, and I will speak to you very soon for more of my ramblings.